behalf of the Prince William Committee 100, I'd like to welcome you here tonight for the sixth and last, actually the seventh and last of our candidate forums for the 2007 fall elections. I'm Denny Doherty, and we're most grateful that you're here. Good. We are pleased tonight to have the Fairfax Public Access Channel covering tonight's program. We are especially pleased that they're doing so, but covering the participation of their competitor. Our moderator tonight is from News Channel 8, Bruce DuPoit, who is the Cable Ace Award-winning host of the News Channel 8's daily public affairs program, News Talk. Bruce brings his 15 years experience as a reporter covering City Hall, neighborhood issues, and county and state government to that role and to our program tonight. He's been providing political analysis since 1991 for WAMU Radio for the last 12 years as a participant giving political analysis on the Kojo Namdi show, maybe mispronouncing that, formerly known as Public Interest in the Derek McGinney show. He's also a frequent substitute for Kojo in that position. Prior to joining News Channel 8, Bruce was a reporter and weekend anchor at WVIR TV, NBC affiliate in Charlottesville. He's a graduate of the University of Maryland. And
this might be the wrong room for that. Skip that part, Mr. Chairman, if you would.
Very well. We will. That was long ago, because from 1989 to 92, he was working in Montgomery County Community Television, and it was back then that he won his Cable Ace Award when hosting a weekly public affairs show called 21 This Week. And so, this is a smaller audience than we had at our county government building a couple of nights ago.
But everyone is recovered from their sleep.
But it is a little earlier in the evening than that ran. And Bruce, we're very glad you can be with us to share with us the candidates running for the clerk of court position. We'll take a break after them, and after that, we've got the really big shows.
Well, thank you very much for that kind introduction. Good evening. Thank you for pronouncing my last name correctly. That's something, when you've got the alphabet soup name that I have, that you never take for granted. So with no practice and no clearance beforehand, you nailed it. Good evening, everyone. It's great to see the room so packed. Perhaps not Board of Supervisors meeting packed, but healthy packed nonetheless. It's good to see so many of you here. I'm not going to ask for a show of hands because I'm seeing t-shirts and stickers and everything else. I'm going to take it on faith that there are some actual voters here in the room, and that as these candidates here and in the next panel pour their heart and soul into their answers, I hope they're actually talking to some undecided voters and not preaching to the various choirs. But it's great to be here. I'm Bruce DuPoit. I host News Talk on News Channel 8, which you can see afternoons at 4 and weeknight evenings at 11 o'clock. When the committee was looking around for a host for tonight, they were looking, a moderator, they were looking for someone with poise, charm, smarts, good looks, maybe a sense of humor. Maureen Bunyan couldn't make it, but I am delighted to be here. We have two contested races, clerk of the court, 3 candidates, and chairman for the County Board of Supervisors. Let me give you a little bit of the ground rules up front. There's not a lot, but just to get it out of the way, we'll do that first. In terms of applause, you can applaud the candidates when I introduce them, but let's not applaud after individual answers. It gets into a kind of a tedious thing where everyone's applauding all the time. We'll just applaud them at the beginning, we'll applaud them at the end, and just listen in between. So that would be great. In terms of timekeeping, I am advised that all the answers are going to be, all the responses from the candidates are going to be timed. And we've got people right here in the front who are going to hold up one sign that means 2 minutes left, one sign that means 1 minute left, and then another stop. For my own edification and the candidates, may I see the timekeepers, please? Where are you? All right, so hold up your 2. Well, the writing is not large. So green is 2 minutes, yellow is 1, red is stop, or pink is stop, right? Fuchsia, if you will. So candidates, you good with that? I'm good with that. All right. Yes.
People cut their cell phones off.
Oh yeah, I think that's on my list. Let me barrel ahead here. What did I say? Oh yeah, that was next. Out of respect for tonight's speakers, we ask you to silence your cell phones and pagers, or as one moderator that I heard recently say, please set them to stun. That will have meaning for you based on your particular device. Segment 1 should last half an hour, then we'll take a 5-minute break and people can gobble up the last of the chocolate cake. Then we'll do segment 2 with the chairman candidates. That'll be 55 minutes, and then we will bid everyone adieu. Talked about the speaker limits, blah, blah, blah. The questions tonight are based on audience questions, as well as questions that came in via the Committee of 100 website. The Questions Committee has selected questions deemed to be best on topics drawing the most interest. We'll get through as many questions as our time limit allows. I want to thank the Questions Committee. Made up of Judy Anderson, Jane Beyer, Sal Profita, Trent Barton, Keith Scarborough, William Westhoff, and James Young. Thanks to the Questions Committee for poring over all those questions that were submitted. The order of the speakers tonight was determined by alphabetical order. Sorry, we didn't do anything more exciting than that. We'll alternate who responds first to each question. Each candidate will get an opening statement of 3 minutes, 2 minutes to respond to the questions, and then there will be a 1-minute rebuttal or slash follow-up. And at the end of the evening, we will have the candidates will question each other, and then we will do a closing statement of 3 minutes. So with that, let me introduce the candidates for Clerk of the Court. They are starting at the far end and working back toward me in an alphabetical order. Lucy Beecham, the Independent. Michelle McQuigg, the Republican. And Bill Ryland, the Democrat. So with that, I think I've covered everything. Let's do the opening statement, and let's start with Ms. Beecham. Thank you. Timekeepers.
Whoops. The position of Clerk of the Court is an administrative position that oversees the operations of the Circuit Court in the courthouse. Citizens will interact with this office at the most stressful times of their lives, whether it's getting a marriage license, probating the will of a loved one, buying or selling a house, or an involvement in a court case. As your Clerk of the Court, I will focus on customer service. This will be my top priority. I will meet regularly with all the different constituencies that interact with the clerk's office. The attorneys, the judges, the realtors, the mortgage lenders, the sheriff, and the public using the office. We need to find out from these constituencies what we're doing well and what we can improve upon. From some of these groups, I already know that I will immediately institute flex hours to better serve the citizens. I will deploy the latest technology that will guarantee accuracy, improve efficiency, and guarantee effectiveness. I will involve the community and the schools in this office. I am a proven leader. For 14 years, I was director of Prince William United Way, helping to raise money and the awareness for those citizens in need. For the last 3 years, I've been the development director for Scienceport, Northern Virginia's Science Center, hoping and working to bring a hands-on science center to Northern Virginia, the only large metropolitan area in the United States that does not have one. The last 16 years, I have had the honor to serve as your school board chairman in Prince William County. I've been committed to make our education system a world-class system. At United Way for 14 years, I managed a staff of 75 staff and volunteers with a $3.5 million budget. I have executive management experience. At Scienceport, I manage a staff and volunteers of 30 and operate a budget of over $1 million operating and $120 million capital budget. As chairman of the Prince William County School Board, I've managed a staff of almost 10,000 employees and a $1.1 billion budget. In each case, I've developed, implemented, and overseen these budgets. I have a commitment to the community. I serve on various committees and boards of directors, including the Regional Chamber of Commerce, the Prince William County Greater Manassas Chamber of Commerce, the Advisory Board for the George Mason University's Prince William Branch. I have spent the last 30 years involved in and contributing to the needs of this community on a daily basis through my work and through my volunteer service. I have a good working relationship with our elected officials, and I know the people of our community. I bring that knowledge of our community to this office. I am out every day working for the community and working with you and for you. I've been an advocate for the school division. I'll be a strong advocate for this clerk of the court's office. I am the community leader that cares. Thank you very much.
We'll get a 3-minute opening statement now from Delegate McQueen. And candidates now and on the second panel, please watch your step going up and down that classroom.
Okay, is this an appropriate height?
Can everyone hear him?
You're okay. Well, I'm glad. I want to thank the Committee of 100 for having me. I'm running for Clerk of Court because I have a passion for our community. For me, the clerk's office is an exciting place. It serves as the underpinning for our democracy. Because of the nature of the records, the office is a hub of information for use by business entities and genealogists. To be clerk is an opportunity to come home, serve my community, and to continue to help people interface with their government. The clerk should be familiar with the Code of Virginia. The clerk doesn't need to be an attorney. I'm familiar with the code because I've helped write it for the past 10 years as a member of the Virginia House of Delegates, serving in leadership roles on the House Committee of Courts of Justice and General Laws. Serving on the joint subcommittee studying the operations of circuit court clerk offices, I know about the current operations of today's office. I've successfully passed legislation dealing with today's issues of secure remote access, technology trust fund, and freedom of information, working to improve the efficiency and effectiveness of the office and protect the public security. I have a good working relationship with the people that impact the clerk's office, including the judges, Supreme Court, Auditor of Public Accounts, Compensation Board, Library of Virginia, and of course, county staff. I understand technology and how to improve efficiency and effectiveness. I manage computer operations for a major lobbying group and have supervised adult educators. My hallmark as an elected official is constituent service. I have a track record of keeping in touch with our community by going door to door in election and non-election years, reaching out to citizens, listening to them, and helping them to find solutions to a myriad of problems. I have a strong record of helping all the people, putting them, not special interests, first. As clerk, my #1 priority will be customer service. I will improve customer convenience and accessibility, protect your privacy to prevent identity theft, protect and preserve our historic records, provide information to empower citizens to utilize the office's resources, deploy technology, and address current management challenges, including a reduced budget. I commit to you that I will be there when you need me. Thank you.
Mr. Riley.
Thank you, Bruce. Thanks, everyone, for coming out tonight. Thanks to the Committee of 100 for all their hard work. These are very important debates and presentations to our community, and it helps us make our decisions as to how we shall vote. Let me pose this question to you. If you were sick and needed surgery, would you consult a medical doctor with many years of experience, or would you consult with someone who was only thinking about going to medical school? I think you'd probably choose the doctor who had many years of experience. A similar question. If you were an employer looking to hire someone to handle over 800 legal duties of Virginia law, would you hire someone with no education, no training, no experience in the law or the position they were applying for? Probably not. These are the questions that the voters will have to decide on November 6th to elect the next clerk of court for Prince William County, Manassas and Manassas Park to serve for the next 8 years. Clerk of court is your elected representative to the judicial system. When you petition the court to be heard in the trial of your case, when you need to record your deed to secure your home in real estate, when you need to probate the estate of a loved one who has died and passed on, when you're called to jury duty, when you have a capital murder case that is to be tried to a jury. And that's why I'm running for clerk of court. Let's compare the facts between myself and my opponents. I'm the only candidate who has devoted his entire 27-year career to serving our community in legal matters on a daily basis. I have already served as your clerk of court for our community during 1 year by judicial appointment. I've served over 10 years as an assistant prosecutor right here in Prince William County, Manassas and Manassas Park with our Commonwealth Attorney, Paul Ebert. Over 15 years of law practice in our community, dealing with the clerk's office on a daily basis. Every area of my law practice is connected with a duty of the clerk of court. It has not been a narrow practice, it has been a broad-based practice. I'm the only candidate who has successfully managed and administered the clerk of court office, even in a down budget cycle. When I talk with citizens at their front doors and at community events and gatherings, they recognize my experience as a natural fit for the clerk of court because it clicks. It makes sense. What experience do my opponents bring to the race? Neither of my opponents has any hands-on experience working with legal matters in our courthouse or our clerk's office. They have no education, no training, no experience in the law or court administration. My opponents are good people. Let's not be mistaken about that. But their careers simply have not transferred into the complex and technical world of legal matters. Therefore, I want to continue serving my community as your next clerk of court on November 6th. Thank you.
This next question comes from the audience and was selected by the Questions Committee. Each candidate will get 2 minutes to respond, and after that 6 minutes, each candidate will get a 1-minute rebuttal. So, all right. Can I get a ruling from the chair? Because my sheet does say rebuttal. Almost has 3 clerk candidates. Rebuttal, rebuttal, rebuttal. The rebuttals live. So it'll be 2 minutes and then 1. Right. We cool with that? One question. And the question is, ready? This is an administrative position supervising a large staff. Please tell us what you have done over the last 10 to 15 years that would prepare you for working with and supervising a staff of more than 50. Ms. Beecham?
Thank you. That's an easy answer for me because I am the candidate that has executive management experience. For 14 years, I managed a staff and volunteers of over 75 and a budget that was $3.5 million. For the last 3 years as development director at Scienceport, I've managed a staff and volunteers of 30 and a budget of $1 million operating and $120 million capital expenditures budget. This past 16 years, I have served as on the school board, the last 14 as chairman. In this job, I have managed and supervised almost 10,000 employees with a budget, an annual budget of $1.1 billion. I have the executive management experience. I have the people skills that are necessary to run an effective and efficient government, an effective and efficient office to work for you. Because that's what the clerk's office needs to do. It needs to work for you and with you. And that's what the executive management experience will do. That's what the people skills will be able to enable the employees to bring the very best that they have to that office. And this is what I pledge to you. I am the only candidate up here that has extensive executive management experience.
Delegate McQuaig.
I've never managed an office of 50 or more. There's 53 positions. But I have done more than 30, and I think you take the same skills for 30 that you do for 50. And I would like to remind everybody that well, I don't know about Bill, but each of us has more supervisory experience and management experience than Dave maybe had before he became clerk. And I think Dave did a good job. I have experience managing staffs of all sizes, from 1 to more than 30, in business, in government, and educational settings. I have a track record of getting results. I'm known for performance management. I served as the only House member on Governor Warner's Commission for Efficiency and Effectiveness, known as the Wilder Commission, and the Commonwealth Performance Advisory Commission. I've spoken at a national conference on performance management. I was the voice of performance management in the General Assembly. I successfully passed the Roadmap to Virginia's Future, which is the most forward-looking management plan in the Commonwealth, bringing visioning, strategic planning, and accountability to the citizens of Virginia. I'll use my management skills and experience to run the clerk's office efficiently and effectively.
Mr. Ryland, 2 minutes.
As I mentioned earlier, I was clerk of circuit court. I have served this community in that capacity. And we had an office of that size back when I was clerk in 1991. And I have successfully managed that office at that time in a down budget situation. We had 50 employees at the time. We were in a tight revenue situation, similar to what we're headed into now. We need to be able to understand how to keep all of the services that are required on a daily basis to be open and available to all the citizens of our community at our circuit court in a jurisdiction of 440,000 people with the county and the two cities put together. That is something that is quite a challenge. I did that successfully in a situation when I had to reduce the budget and I had to make sure that everything was still running, the train's running on time, as they say. The doors had to be open, the services had to be available to all the land title searchers, the jurors needed to be summoned, the cases needed to be tried. I have had that experience, not only in an executive management position, but specifically as court administrator, to make sure our courthouse is running properly at the circuit court level, so that all the services that the citizens need are open and available. So I'm the only candidate here who has done that specific management position in court administration, specifically in our courthouse, in our community.
So now we'll do 1 minute rebuttals. Ms. Beecham, we're just going to go down the room.
I think you can clearly see the difference in the three candidates. And I just stand on my record of 18 years of executive management experience and the experience developing, implementing, and overseeing a budget. I would stand on my 18 years, and I encourage you to do the same.
Thanks. Dawn?
I guess, using one line of logic, I've managed a $77 billion budget. I'm a policymaker as a legislator, and the Board of Supervisors and the school board are also policymakers. We have an executive branch at the state. The county government has a county executive, and the school board has a superintendent. I would like to point out that when Mr. Ryland was clerk, that he wasn't re-elected. So I don't know what happened, but he wasn't elected. I think you all know that no one's going to work harder than I am, and I would appreciate your consideration. Thank you.
The question was directed to what have you done to prepare yourself for managing an office of that size, and I've just heard both my opponents indicate that they've managed large budgets. Apparently Ms. McQuigg has managed a $77 billion budget. And Ms. Beecham has managed a $1.1 billion budget, but I think that's quite removed from the hands-on management that needs to take place on a day-to-day basis when you're a clerk of circuit court. Both of my opponents have had a remote opportunity to do some of the things that they have been involved in. Ms. Beecham on the school board as chair of the board, but there's a superintendent there, I believe, who does the management on a day-to-day basis. In the state government, we've got, what, tens of thousands of employees who do the day-to-day management. So I don't think it's quite true that they have managed those entire organizations on their own. But I have done that, and I've done that specifically in our courthouse, in our locality, for court administration services.
Thank you very much. Okay, so now we move into the round where candidates pose questions to one another. This will be done in a round-robin manner, and even the time you take in asking the question, candidates, is timed. So don't get too carried away, if you would. You have 1 minute to ask your question. The person you ask that question to will have 3 minutes. We'll begin with Ms. Beecham and a question for Delegate McQuigg.
I have to admit, I must be the leader here.
I'm following the script.
Oh, I'm not criticizing, believe me. Ms. McQuigg, it is a well-known fact that you have had difficulty maintaining a staff of 1 while you were supervisor of the Occoquan District and in your current position as delegate. You have even used a temp agency at one time, and one of these individuals quit the same day she started. Given that the position of clerk of court is an administrative position supervising a staff of over 50 people, how do you plan on having a good working relationship with a staff of this size?
3 minutes.
Well, I've heard the rumors, but they're not all true at all, by any stretch of the imagination. First of all, since you brought up an assistant, there's no place for an assistant to move up in the organization. There is no promotion. And the idea is when you have an assistant in an office is to train them and for them to move on to more demanding and responsible jobs. I think that's the nature of having an administrative assistant. And with my master's in adult continuing education, I've done a lot of training, and I think it's important. And the people, after they have left my office, have gone on and taken the skills and the confidence for bigger and better jobs.
Before we get to the next candidate, a purse is missing, and it has some important medication inside it. So if you could maybe look on the chair next to you, even under the table, it's black. Getting to that. It's black.
Here. Over here.
Oh, has the purse been found? Yay. Good. Very good. All right. Thank you, Finder. I'll let you all work out the Finder fee for yourselves. And given the cost of medications, there should probably be something, right? Delegate McQuigg, would you like to ask a question, a 1 minute question of Mr. Ryland?
Question shorter than a minute, and the answer should be shorter than a minute.
All right, here goes.
Bill, I and many others believe that the recently retired clerk of court, Dave Mabee, who served since 1992 and was not an attorney, did a really great job as clerk. Could you name the most recent elected clerk in Prince William who was an attorney?
That is a rather narrow question. It was Les Athey. That was some time ago. That was before Charlie Gannott. Anybody remember Charlie Gannott?
Yes.
He was a great fellow, wasn't he? He was a great clerk of court. And I had the honor of following him as your clerk of court, and I had a great time learning under him the specific things that he was able to administer our community with, Prince William County, Manassas and Manassas Park, specifically in court administration. And if you recall also, he was Commissioner of Revenue for about 16, 17 years before that. So 33 years altogether that he served this community, and I was glad to pick up a lot of inside information as to how you carry out these services. So it's been mentioned of customer service. Certainly, that's one of the points I will get to in my closing, but customer service is one of the things that I want to expand upon and make more available, particularly with the increase in technology that we have available to us today that Charlie did not have years ago. But Charlie was able to convey to me those things that are important to connect with our community. And that's what I want to do, to open up the clerk's office so we can have greater connections and access between the clerk's office and our community.
While you're at the microphone, pose a 1-minute question for Ms. Beecham, if you would.
Lucy, you said on other occasions and here today that you've managed 10,000 Prince William County School Board employees and a $1.1 billion budget. If that's the case, then why do we need highly paid school superintendent, deputy superintendent, 8 area superintendents, and I'm assuming hundreds of finance and program administrators? And one other thing, I know you're smart, Lucy, but in the Washington Post article of December 19 of 2006 that you posted on your website, do you really believe that watching Perry Mason TV shows and serving on a jury qualifies you to be clerk of court?
3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Ryland. And no, neither one of those things qualified me to be clerk of court. My qualifications for clerk of court are very consistent. I've had the executive management experience. I ran United Way for 14 years. I've run Scienceport for 3 years. And I have had a great deal of experience with the school division and being chairman for the last 14 years. You do work on a day-to-day basis with the superintendent. Absolutely. That's what he's hired to do. You work daily on a day-to-day basis with the superintendent to develop, implement, and oversee the budget. This is the job of a chairman of the school board, and this is what I have done. Have these experiences given me the qualifications that are necessary to be the clerk of the court? Absolutely. Have these experiences given me the experience to know when do you look at customer service? When do you make sure that the customer is right? Absolutely. I stand ready here to serve as clerk of the court. I have the executive management experience. I have the budget experience, both development, implementation, and oversight. Yes, do I believe those all qualify me to be clerk of the court? Absolutely. And I will make this clerk of the court something that you all will be proud of. It'll be a world-class clerk of the court's office. It'll be a world-class operation at the circuit court level. And it will be one that will serve you, the citizens.
Feel free to stay at the mic. We're into the 4th and final stage of our presentation tonight, and each candidate will now have 3 minutes to offer a closing statement.
I just want to thank the Committee of 100 once again for giving me this opportunity to be here this evening. My opponent has said that he's the most qualified candidate because he's a licensed attorney and member of the Bar Association. But being an attorney is not a requirement, nor does it qualify you for being clerk of the court. As a matter of fact, for the last 35 years, the Prince William County clerk of the court position has been held by individuals who were not attorneys. This is an administrative position requiring strong people skills, the ability to lead, motivate, and inspire a staff of just over 50 people to provide the very best customer service for the courts, the judges, the attorneys, and most especially the general public, all of those who depend on this office. With the large number of various responsibilities of this office, good citizenship, good customer service is critical. My opponent has said that he is the most qualified because he's a former clerk of the court who needs no on-the-job training. But being appointed 16 years ago and serving 11 months does not qualify you for being clerk of the court today. 16 years ago, when I began serving on the school board, we had just over 38,000 students. Today, we have 72,654 students. 16 years ago, we had few personal computers and few computers in the classroom. We had no email communication, no scanners, no digitizing of documents capability. no informative, interactive website, no two-way communication system between parents and schools like EduLink, no certifications in Cisco and Novell, no paperless school board management system, and no online employee management system, and so on and so on. My point is, a lot has changed in the last 16 years, and I have been there leading these changes. I am a proven leader. You don't have to wonder what I would do or how I would run the office. You know me. You've trusted me with the most precious commodity of this community, your children. You've watched me up close and personal almost every Wednesday night for the last 16 years. I have executive management experience in United Way, in Scienceport, and yes, in the school division. I will be a strong advocate for the office of Clerk of the Court. You know me, you know my dedication, you know my work ethic, you know my commitment to the community. I am the most qualified candidate, and I would appreciate your support on November 6th. Thank you very much for your attention tonight.
Thank you. I should point out that I ran for clerk of court in 1983 against Charlie Gannott because I didn't think he was doing such a good job. There were many other clerk's offices much further along in the use of technology and serving the public. There are 3 candidates running for clerk of court this year with very different backgrounds. One candidate wants you to think you must have a law degree to be clerk. And we've discussed that it's not true. But the clerk does need to be familiar with the law, but the clerk does not need to be an attorney. And none of our elected clerks since '75, and probably others before, have held a law degree. However, they all have been familiar with the Code of Virginia, which I am. One candidate has no experience with the laws or issues the clerk of court deals with. One candidate was clerk for a short time more than 15 years ago. How he was appointed was interesting. It was termed by a well-known community activist as backroom politics. And as I pointed out before, the voters chose to elect Dave Mabee in '91, not the person chosen by the Democrat political machine. All candidates talk about technology. However, one candidate doesn't file our campaign finance reports electronically. The technology used today is quite different from the technology used 15 years ago. Many laws have changed since then to address today's clerk office's operations. I've worked to pass those laws dealing with these and other important issues that impact the clerk's office. And again, I want to reiterate that I am best known for constituent service. And one candidate has never been in that position, so you don't know how they're going to react. But you do know me. Talk is cheap. Consistently walking the walk over the years is what's important. I've done that. You know who I am. I will take my work ethic, dedication, knowledge, and skills to make customer service #1 and be there for you. I am the best choice for clerk, and I'd appreciate your vote on Tuesday, November 6th. Thank you.
Mr. Ryland, 3 minutes.
Thanks again to the Committee of 100. I know it's a lot of hard work, and it is certainly paying off. Look at this full room. It's great to look out here and see so many people actively interested in our elections. As I was preparing for tonight's debate, I was talking with my wife, Sally, who's right here in the first table, and one of our 3 children, and both of them told me, "You sound too much like a lawyer." You know, they're right, but I guess I just can't help myself. I know from experience, however, that being a lawyer should be a requirement for being clerk of court, particularly as we look ahead to the next 8-year term. That's a long term. Not much has been made of that. But if you want somebody who has the best talent and the best ability and background and experience to bring to this office, that's something to really seriously consider. We can recognize how large and complex our community has become with nearly those 440,000 people that we talked about earlier in our county and 2 cities, and the need for expertise in the jobs that our leaders perform. It is simply too risky to entrust a highly technical and complex legal position for an 8-year term to someone who does not have the training and experience and education for the job. We do want the best talent and experience serving our community for our hard-earned taxpayers' dollars. The clerk of court is about ensuring that when we have business before the court, we have an opportunity to be heard and to receive fair and equal justice, just as our Constitution guarantees. The clerk of court stands at the center of our law enforcement and public safety decisions that protect and secure our lives and liberty in our community. I want to be your clerk of court who will make user-friendly improvements, protecting personal information from identity theft, upgrading technology and equipment to improve information access, completing more business online without having to drive to the courthouse, scanning more documents into electronic access so we can save on physical storage space, and where feasible, extending office hours to better serve our busy schedules and create satellite offices closer to where we live. Each of these ideas need to be competitive with each other to see which ones are the most cost efficient and produce the best return on our hard-earned taxpayers' dollars. I will run the clerk's office efficiently, cost-effectively, and professionally because I've already successfully done that job, and I will not need on-the-job training. Judges chose me and trusted me to do the job previously, and I hope you will too. If you want a professional clerk of court working for you in your courthouse for the next 8 years, join our team by voting for Ryland for clerk of court on November 6th. I will serve as a professional, not a politician.